Okay, welcome. So today we are going to be doing a content breakdown on one of my favorite brands, Cardo. I use their products all the time. I think I own 10 plus of these communicators because I use them with my rite of passage tours. And basically what Cardo does, they make Bluetooth and mesh communicators for mostly for motorcycles, but for other outdoor activities as well, like skiing, off-roading, UTVs, dirt biking, that kind of thing. So what we're going to get into today, we're going to get into what they're doing well in their content strategy, as well as what they could improve upon with their existing content, their keyword gaps, their content quality, and then I will be throwing out creative ideas for how I would approach this client throughout the entire live stream. By the way, my name is Evan. I run an agency that helps motorsport clients with content marketing. We built this out of a motorcycle gear review site that we scaled to 250,000 visitors every year, purely through organic content marketing. And on that site, the average page makes over $2,000, made over $2,000 in the last 12 months. So we know how to make really powerful content that engages people, sells products, brings them into your community, and we are now taking that expertise and bringing it to brands in motorsports. So if you would like this kind of breakdown done for your site, or you want some content advice on your site or your brand, just reach out to me. My email is in the description of the video. Cool. So on to the breakdown. Let's talk about Cardo. So the first thing I usually do when I go to a brand site is go straight to their blog and see what they're writing about. I rarely actually see this, that brands are putting the blog on their homepage. This is really good, especially to rank, because the more posts you have on here, this is giving a signal to Google that these are important pieces of content and Google should read them and rank them. So you'll notice, like on our site, every new post hits the homepage and is there for usually a couple weeks before it's pushed down by more recent content. So we're going to go into the blog here. This is their whole blog. So they've kind of split it up between motorcycle, off-road, and outdoor. Could probably do a lot better in terms of categorization. I've looked through the blog a few times before, and they have a lot of different approaches to content, different types of content. So they could be doing more with tagging and with categorization. As far as the topics covered, I'm really looking for a couple things. The biggest is, what type of content is it? Is it helpful, or is it kind of entertainment, not educational, but entertainment and sort of event driven or story driven? Cardo has a nice mix, actually. They have things like this behind every race. Like, this is not something that is going to be super helpful for a rider who wants to buy Cardo or is using a Cardo product. They're not really going to read this. It's really for their core fans who love Cardo so much, or they're really into motorsport, they really like that team. Maybe they're going to read that blog post. But it's not something that's going to necessarily rank in Google or get you much search traffic or show up in like AI search and whatnot. Same with things like Meet the Cardo Fam, good for the community, not necessarily a useful content as far as ranking in Google and earning new customers. Then we get to like how to get the best sound from your Cardo. This is really, really good content that I see a lot of brands not doing this. This type of sort of edutainment content that can rank in Google. Support can also use it. Like when people are reaching out and saying that my Cardo sounds horrible, instead of the support team having to write a new thing or use the same macro, they can send a beautiful blog post to their customer explaining exactly how to get the best sound out of it. Saves a lot of time and a lot of money. ATV tire size, like, that's a really good topic that is going to attract a lot of searches of people like, how do I read my ATV tire? So I like seeing that kind of content. Ultimate guide to motorcycle backpacking, really good topic. One thing I will say about these kind of ultimate guides, I see a lot of brands that they will produce an ultimate guide like this, and then they will wonder, like, why are we not getting much traffic? Why is this only getting 100 hits a month or whatever? Well, the problem is that the way that Google reads your site, and especially AI engines now, they are looking for what's called topical authority. So they're looking at how much are you writing about this topic? How much are you producing about this topic? What are other people saying online about you, about this topic? And so a lot of brands, they'll think, well, I wrote something about the topic. Why am I not getting all this traffic when people search for that topic? Well, you are not demonstrating that you really know that topic all the way around with just one piece. Because motorcycle backpacking, there could be entire websites just on motorcycle backpacking. I've seen entire websites on motorcycle camping, for instance, that have hundreds of posts about that topic. So that's what you're up against in terms of the topical authority. So if you're going to make what's called a pillar page like this, build a hub around it. Write about the best backpacks for motorcycles and connect it to this, the best routes to go motorcycle backpacking, all these different topics around that, and then interlink them so that you're showing Google, this is our main guide, but it connects to all these other topics that are also important to that. And we know that, riders are also interested in those other topics. And that really shows Google that you're an authority on that topic. So I'm going to take some notes here. I will say that, Cardo is doing pretty well in terms of topic coverage, great, helpful content topics. They're even doing some bottom of funnel topics, BOFU, like Senna versus Cardo, everything you need to know. That's a really great topic that a lot of people are asking about. Senna and Cardo are the two big motorcycle communicators, so that's a great piece to get on there. And I see a lot of very informational content, like how long do motorcycle tires last, really good for building brand. I think there's a lot of opportunities here for them to do more of the bottom of funnel stuff, like Senna versus Cardo, or Senna 50S versus Cardo Edge, Pack Talk Pro versus Senna 60S. There's lots of comparisons and sort of lower down in the funnel content that they could be creating that would absolutely dominate in search. It would help establish them when people are using AI search to compare different products. It would feed both of those with all the information that they need to show people. And of course, because they're writing it, they can set the narrative and the tone and everything. Title and description clarity, great. We don't really have anything to build on there. I think all of these are pretty good. I did notice that descriptions could use a little more curiosity. So one big thing that I focus on with our content is these descriptions, when you're using them on Google search, like as a meta description, a lot of brands just mail it in and they just, how long do motorcycle tires last? Motorcycles last a long time. Like that's basically what they're saying here. Motorcycles last longer than the tires. Okay, I don't care about that. That doesn't add any information. The rubber that meets the road will gradually break down and lose traction, reducing your ability to steer. Duh, that's why I'm here. Like this doesn't create any curiosity around why should I want to read this versus the 1,000 other articles out there about how long motorcycle tires last. So what I try to push with my team is to create curiosity with those 2 sentences that you get, to try and convince the person that they're doing 100 other things and they're scrolling down Google, why should they click on your link? Why is your guide going to be better than others? Cardo is a big brand that they've probably have a lot of team members who have ridden a lot of motorcycles and burned through a lot of tires. They can say, or even their Cardo fan people, they have racers in there. They can say, hey, we asked the top 10 MotoGP racers about how long tires last. Here's everything you need to know. Something like that builds authority, that creates curiosity, where people are seeing, okay, I'm going to get my question answered here. Or you might not understand this, that, the having chicken strips on your bike means your tires are dead. I'm just making things up, but I know a lot of people who ride completely straight, their tires are dead, even though on the outside they have tons of grip. So you can say things like that create a ton of curiosity and make people want to click. And I think they're missing out on some opportunity there. Posting recently, hard to tell because they're not putting the dates up front, which is a good thing to do, but it's small. They do have the dates here, so oh wow, this is not good. We'll get into content quality later, but this is a short for a Facebook post. Let's just put it that way. And having really short content, like just don't post it. If you have something this short, it's not worth it to post it. It's what's called thin content. AI doesn't find much use in it. Google doesn't like it, and will actually penalize sites if you put up too much of this stuff. Oh man, same with this. Okay, yeah, that's really low quality. Um, wow, we're gonna have a lot to say about content quality, but they are posting often. So yeah, August 13th, wow, they are all little stub articles. Even this is very short. May 29th, that was a little bit down the page. So they're posting, seems like a couple times a month. That's okay. There really isn't a downside to posting a lot. You can post like multiple articles per day and not get penalized. I think given if you're going to be repurposing that content and whatnot, doing a handful per week, doing like 1 to 3 per week is probably the sweet spot for most brands. Then you can use it across social media and in different places, repurpose the content without overwhelming other teams with the amount of content that you're creating. But really, you're not going to get penalized for putting out a lot of content. Google wants to see that you're an authority, you're writing a lot, and their team and their algorithm understand that you could have 50 writers working on this. They can pump out 50 articles a day. So I'm going to say yes, but speed could be increased to 1 to 3 a week. I will say that overall topic selection is great. Could use more bottom of funnel, middle of funnel topics, but content is very thin, which could be hurting them. Yeah, that's probably the biggest issue here. We're going to look at content inventory now. So basically what I do with this is I try to get a sense using different keyword research tools of how big is the entire space? Like what are all the different topics that we can write about and cover? And then how much is Cardo actually covering? And I was looking at this a little bit before the stream. I think Cardo's actually doing an excellent job in covering the overall motorcycle market. Like they're doing things like how long do motorcycle tires last, how to read ATV tires, that are very broad informational topics that will bring in a lot of different people and searchers who they don't necessarily even know what Cardo is or are interested in it, but now they're going to have a relationship with Cardo, the brand, because they're learning all this through Cardo stuff. So that's really good. I think what they're missing is that bottom of funnel content that's actually about their products. So how I usually do this is I go to a tool like Ahrefs, Keyword Explorer, and I'll do different types of searches. But like for this one, I just wanted to see like what are all the terms that have motorcycle in them, or motorcycling, or biker, and then what's all the search volume around that. I've turned off branded keywords because I was getting like Honda, Yamaha. We don't want to have that because Cardo is not going to try to rank for the term Honda, and they never would because Honda will always rank. And then I excluded things like Indian was not being considered a brand, for sale, used, dealer, near me. Those are always really big searches, but not that's very bottom of the funnel motorcycle buying activities, not what Cardo is probably going to want to rank for. And then what I'm looking for here is like, what is the size of this market? So SV is search volume. The total search volume in the US, this tool is estimating is at about 7 million. These search volume numbers, by the way, are usually like way under what you can actually get. So it could be 10 million in traffic. If you were to dominate all of this, obviously, like the term motorcycle, Cardo's probably not going to ever rank number one for that. That's 253,000. So you got to subtract that out of it. And there's 175,000 keywords. So there's a lot that Cardo can be ranking for. I think I pulled up here. Yeah, we can compare it to their organic keywords. So like I said, I think Cardo's doing really good in terms of the topics and the keywords that they're ranking for. Like they're ranking for 22,000 keywords. Now, again, when I say ranking, that's anywhere in the top 100 search results. So anything past 10 doesn't really matter. And really, you're looking for like 1 to 5 or 1 to 3. That's where the majority of the searches are going nowadays. With the tweaks that Google's been doing to search engine results, they're getting spread out a little bit more. So being on the first page still can be valuable, but anything after the first page really is not that valuable. So actually, I want to just look at that. We're going to limit to positions 1 to 10, and now we will see how many keywords is Cardo ranking for. There we go. So that's actually, I think, the realistic keywords that they're ranking for. We'll get into content quality later. I think that content quality and rewrites is where Cardo can really take that 4,000 to the actual 20,000. Like they can move all those keywords up to page 1 because it's a big brand, a lot of natural engagement, big social channels. They should be ranking for a ton of keywords on page 1. So that's a little bit about the keyword space, their top pages. So I would say that they're doing well, but content quality is probably holding them back from ranking more in positions. So in less than 10 or 1 to 10 position. The total, we'll say the total SV here is about 7 million. Cardo is covering, let's see, we pulled up their top pages here. Cardo is getting 13,000. Is getting 13K traffic. And these numbers are per month, by the way. What else? They're missing more bottom of funnel content, comparisons. I think that's really where they can shore up here. Like there's a lot of really, what they're ranking for is like guides about informational topics. Is riding a motorcycle hard? You're probably not going to be selling much product through that. How much horsepower does a motorcycle have? Like the other danger zone about doing this kind of content, it's great, very long term for building authority, but in the immediate term, a lot of this traffic is getting eaten by Google's own AI mode because they know how much horsepower does a motorcycle have. Like there's tons of blog posts out there. It's pretty simple to just pull it out of a bunch of blog posts and create a quick blurb for people. And the searchers, they're not looking for an explanation of horsepower and all this stuff. They just want, what's the number? They're probably sitting having beers and arguing with their friend about how much horsepower a motorcycle has. They just want the number. So Google's AI mode is starting to really eat up the actual traffic to that kind of content. Whereas it's not doing as well with comparisons, because if you search for different product comparisons, it's usually pretty bad, especially with more niche areas like motorcycle communicators. It just doesn't have the understanding of what these tools are, how these products work. So that kind of content still does really, really well. That's why our site still does well too. And then internal linking and hub and cornerstone use. So this will kind of lead us into content quality, but one thing I like to do is look through a couple of posts, especially around really big, broad products. So I'll look at that, broad topics. I will look at Senna versus Cardo and this ultimate guide to motorcycle backpacking, because these are kind of big pillar pieces that you could have a lot of smaller pieces underneath. What I'm looking for here is what are they linking to on their own site. So like this is a nice stat, they're linking to ADV Pulse. Here it's just a button to their homepage. So that could be a lot more targeted, and it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with this content. So if I were reading this, I don't know why I would click that. You're not giving me a reason to click that. And then wow, nothing else, just another motorcycle headset. Here we go, use a Bluetooth. Okay, so it says linking to the snow page, although it's not talking about snow here at all. So that's kind of weird. Again, just a homepage link, half helmet audio kit. Okay, but this is another thing. I saw this a lot with Pandomoto that I just did a breakdown of on the channel, is they link a lot just to their products and just buy our products. And really you're missing out on an opportunity to build that topical authority, and that's really hurting rankings. So because this content is just in its own silo, it's not connected to any other content. When Google is crawling it, it's just taking it as its own. So what we do on our site is we're connecting it to all the other content. So like when we write best motorcycle boots for women, we are connecting that to other women's motorcycle gear pages. We're connecting it to the best boots page, and that's creating a web of content that helps Google understand how is all this content related, and also to see that we have authority. We didn't just write about the best boots for women, we wrote about the best gear for women in like 10 different categories. And that helps show that we are an authority on the topic. So the crazy thing that I see on all these brand blogs is they are authorities. They're just not doing the little things that they need to do to show that to the algorithm and to show it to users as well. Like if you know Cardo, you might come on here and okay, I trust that they're an authority. But if you don't know Cardo and you're reading through this and you're like, there isn't much for me to chew on here or to think about. It's not very entertaining. It's not leading me to other resources to help me with motorcycle camping and motorcycle backpacking, sorry. So I'm not left with a great impression that this is a really strong brand. But if you're pointing to all these different resources, you're showing them, wow, okay, this brand knows a lot about motorcycle backpacking. That creates a good impression with that person who came to your site. And that all snowballs, when they see you on Instagram now, they're more likely to follow you. It's all plays together. So I'm just going to say here it's non-existent. Huge opportunity. No. Did I lose the stream? No, I think we're still here. Okay. Given the huge opportunity, given the... okay, I think we're still online. Given the topic coverage on their blog. So yeah, I think there's probably a lot of different interlinks to be made here. They're just not doing it. Let's see what about Senna versus Cardo. So again, just linking to their products. Having a video in here, that's good. Linking again to products. There we go. Now we're going, this is another blog on DMC. That's nice to show authority to Google that you're also writing about the technology that's being used in here. Latest Cardo reviews. That's nice for the user, really, to show them at the end. You're basically saying it's not just us, that obviously we're a little biased, Senna versus Cardo. You got to read our reviews, see what people are saying online. Would be even better if this went to something that wasn't on Cardo's website, because obviously I think people are wise to this now. Like if the reviews are on your website, they're not likely real reviews. Not saying that Cardo is doing that, but there's just too many brands that are ripping people off and putting tons of fake reviews on their own domain. So if you can link out to like Trustpilot or some Reddit threads even and say, like, these are places that we don't control, but they love us. And you can see real riders love us. Cool, so that's content inventory, internal linking and everything. Gonna move on to content quality. So this is where I have a lot to say with Cardo. So I think they're really, oh boy, I hope I'm not losing my internet here. No, it seems okay. Okay, so, boy, this is frustrating. I hope you're not losing me on the live stream. All right, so as far as content quality, what I'm looking for when I'm scrolling through this, the first question is just, would I finish reading this post? Second is, would I share it? Is it useful enough that I would want to share this with friends or people who are asking me this question? And does it actually answer the question better than anyone else? That's really big too. So let's start with this Senna versus Cardo. Intros. So intros are the most important. Blogs are a lot like YouTube as well, like any content. If you are not bringing people in at the very beginning, there's no point. So if you have a really boring intro that people are like, I'll go read one of the other 100 links on Google rather than this crap, then it doesn't matter how good your content is, you've already lost them. Boy. Man, my internet is being really testy today. Okay, so hopefully he's still with me. Gosh, that's irritating. Yeah, but seems like the YouTube is still live, so I don't know why it is doing that. I'm going to keep going through that. So, content quality. We are talking about the intros. So, the important part about an intro, it needs to hook people or they're just going to click off, go to a different website. So I'm looking for a good intro that creates some curiosity about what am I going to learn in this piece, how is it going to help me, and establishes authority. Why do you know how to talk about this topic versus anyone else? So let's see, using a Bluetooth motorcycle helmet, one of the best decisions you can make. Okay, Sena and Cardo systems specialize in crafting cutting edge, blah, blah, blah. Both regularly introduce new headsets. Wow. All right. So very common that I see on a lot of brand blogs. They are basically just summarizing in the most plain terms possible what this article is about without really giving any information for people to hold on to or create curiosity with. Like one thing that immediately jumped out to me is Sena and Cardo systems specialize in crafting cutting edge wireless motorcycle communication technology. If someone came to this page, they most likely were searching for Sena versus Cardo. So they already know what Sena and Cardo are. You don't have to say that again. You're just wasting their time. So it's things like that where you just having a knowledge of what is the searcher's intent, where are they at in the buying process or in the information process when they end up here, that tailors the content to that searcher. So like if we were saying, if this was a guide to the best motorcycle Bluetooth, then we would say Sena and Cardo are the best, wireless motorcycle communication brands, because that person, they might be looking at all these other random brands, these Chinese knockoff brands, and think this one's only $60. I'll buy that instead of a Cardo. So they need to know Sena and Cardo are the kings of this space. In this article, that's not as relevant. And then, as we keep going on, not good, just really dull content. Like, all right, we're going to compare these two, connect to an unlimited number. Another big opportunity here is like break out the differences with bolding. Like we can bold Sena 60S, unlimited number of riders, and then 6 mile radius, 10 kilometer radius, those kind of things, because people don't have time, they don't have attention, they are going to skim through this, and you're just making it a lot easier for them to see the information that they need. Another thing that I just had a conversation with a brand about, they said they want to get their read time up on the blog. That's a decent, it sounds like a good metric, and oftentimes it's a good trailing metric for content quality, especially for informational content. But really, you want people to get the value out of the piece as quickly as possible. So things like conversions, are people buying things out of this? When they come to this page, are they buying a Cardo afterward? That is a much closer to your actual business goal, for one, and a better indicator of was it valuable than read time, because you can just get people bogged down in a lot of information and you can get your read time up, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're writing better content for people. Sound, like this is where having a video, I see Sena doing this with Pack Talk Pro and its crash detection. Have a video where people can, it's hard because people are on the phone or whatever, but to sort of be able to see the difference in the sound between cheap, expensive Sena, Cardo, that kind of thing. And it also increases their time on page. It's a good signal to Google that people are engaging with this content, they like this content. Safety, like nice plug for Pack Talk Pro, I would be bolding built-in crash protection. It's not really protection, but that's the kind of thing that jumps out. When I see this, I'm like, I'm gonna skip it because they're communications devices, not safety devices. But when I see, oh, built-in crash protection, what is that about? Then I'm more likely to read that section. Price, okay. Also visuals, like there's one video, one picture. It's a very short article too, so you can't fit much more in here. That's one thing I've noticed. Every article I've opened is so short. We actually have this article on our website. I think it's probably 5 or 6 times longer, and a lot less fluff. So that depth of content really, really helps with read time. It helps with engagement. It helps with people sharing, enjoying the content. So I'm going to say very little depth. Also the voice, very bland. I don't really sense any brand voice in here. It sounds like an encyclopedia. Readability, decent, but could use more detail. Like this just says Senna. Okay, what about Senna? It's a background on Senna. Cardo Systems, like, what are you trying to say there? Are you talking about their products, whatever? It's talking about the background. So say the history of Senna, history of Cardo Systems, just little things like that. And then CTAs, lead gen, conversion, completely missing. Just text links to a few category pages. It's very common, I see on brand blogs, that they do this. They throw in a couple text links to products and then they consider it done. I'll show you on our site. We use these, it's a thing called Lasso. Yeah, we use these product displays. So it includes an image, description, we write all this content, pros and cons, and then we have buttons out to go buy the product. So brands could easily be integrating this. This plugin is super cheap, works on any site, and it just gives much nicer visual and look and presentation for a reader. It pops off the page, right? You can compare and have a table here. All of this font and color is customizable, but you can really show people the products, compare them in a really digestible format. Super, super useful. And I don't see brands really doing that. They just have text links. All right. Yeah, this is another informational. So this has a little bit more detail, but still very, very short. I mean, they could be doing a lot more with this. This topic seems super fit for having a video, like having a live range test from the Cardo team to show how this works and how it connects and whatnot, including influencer stories. I'd be happy to add a blurb to this. We use mesh on all our tours. We have a fleet of Pack Talk customs. We use them with 8, 10, 15 riders at a time. Works flawlessly in the jungles of Thailand where there's no cell service. We're going around mountains. People are separated by multiple kilometers, and it works really, really well. So yeah, it's just another random idea of something that you could include into a piece like this, informational piece. Then we're going to look at competitors. So the way that I do this, we're basically getting a sense for what are competitors doing better than you by the rankings. So I pull up in our keyword tool, this organic competitors, if it ever loads. There we go. Interesting, Saint, that I was not expecting to see that. We don't even see Senna on here. One thing you got to do with this tool though is, here we go, I'm going to do, because these guys are both big juggernaut competitors, I'm going to go to Senna, and then we have to compare them apples to apples. So I'm looking at Cardo's blog, which means I have to look at Senna's blog as well, or else we're going to be comparing. It's going to say Senna has all this extra content because they're also ranking for product pages when people search Senna 50S and stuff. There we go. So we're going to grab that URL. Where were we? Here we go. I'm going to put it in here, hit apply, and then we should be able to see how are we comparing to Senna? Okay, so it used to show us a list down here. That's weird. Okay, well, I won't waste too much time in this if they've changed the interface and I'm gonna figure it out. But usually we can look in here, click on competitor keywords, and then we'll be able to see what is that competitor ranking for that Cardo is not ranking for. Yeah, so like Saint, Dyneema, but Cardo doesn't make that kind of product. Motorcycle Armor. So this, I mean, Cardo is doing a lot of informational content just around motorcycles, so they may want to start writing about like motorcycle jeans and biker outfits and motorcycle clothing. Even though they don't sell it, they could use affiliate links. They could include Cardo products in there. Try to establish having a communicator as part of your kit. You buy a helmet, you buy a jacket, you buy gloves, and you buy a Cardo. They could try that kind of strategy. It's not going to sell as many of their products, but it will establish them as an authority in the motorcycle space. So that's competitors. We're just going to say Senna there, and I'm going to say a look later for that because I got to figure out how they've changed this interface. And then formats and distribution. So the last thing, we're going to look at some of their socials here. So we've got Facebook and YouTube. I think we had another one up here, Instagram. And basically what I'm looking for here is, are they repurposing what they're posting on the blog? Because a lot of times how I try to talk through blog content with brands is you're going to spend a lot of money if you work with us to create extremely high quality content. Like if you go on our website, you read any of our posts, it's the most in-depth information that you can find on any of the topics that we're writing about. So once you've done that, that means that we've done all this research, we've created all this what's called info gain on that page. But a lot of brands will just put it up on the blog and that's it. And they don't do anything with that information. Well, especially with AI tools now, you can repurpose that content in so many ways. So we can create an AI workflow for you that every time a blog post is published, it's giving you a Facebook post, an Instagram post, and a YouTube script to go out and an idea for how to test and show this topic visually. We can do all of that in one click. And then you can then spread that content around and get a lot more engagement on it. Also helps with ranking too. If you're posting your blog links, you're including some information that's drawing people in, creating curiosity, and then linking them to the blog for more. That's sending great signals to Google that this is valuable content. And I mean, they've got huge followings, like 325K followers. You post on here and you get 20K clicks in day one. That's telling Google, whoa, okay, this is really valuable. People really are reading this and they like it. And that can jump your rankings up very quickly. You can start ranking new articles like in days, not in months. So I'm looking here to see if they have any blog content. They're using these URL shorteners. So there's a YouTube, pictures, product stuff. Oh, I want to try that. Yeah, so it doesn't really look like they are using that blog content. I'm not seeing any of the topics that I saw on the blog in here. It's more inspirational, event-based, which is great content. Like this stuff works well on social, but they could also be feeding in their blog post topics here and helping grow that blog. Because again, with social, when you post it has a lifespan. It's maybe going to get engagement for a few days and then it will drop off the map, especially with Facebook and Instagram. YouTube is a little bit different. You can get more engagement later on after you post. But with blog content, it just grows steadily over time, and then it usually will kind of assert itself somewhere in the search engine results. And then as long as another competitor doesn't make something like way better than what you already have, it's just going to sit there and constantly get traffic with no effort. So being able to work that together with your social media team and have these posts coming out regularly and getting a lot of traffic to it, showing Google that people like this content right when it's published, that's massive, because now that blog is not just going to disappear in a week. It's going to establish itself and then continue to get traffic for you, whether you continue to work on that blog post or not. Cool. So let's see what else we got here. Riser. Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, they've got some good UGC and events content. So again, great social content, but they're not using that blog here. And they could be. And then another thing I want to say about YouTube. So Cardo's done a really great job on YouTube. I know they have a lot of informational content, a lot of walkthroughs and troubleshooting stuff. I use their videos a lot for like installs and pairing issues and things. This content can very easily be created into blog content. Like we can set up a workflow where new videos, whether it can be all new videos or it can just be select ones, like you're probably not going to make a blog post out of a 50-second short, but like pairing your Cardo with your TFT, we can create a blog post out of that, take screenshots from the YouTube video, and post that all with minimal human involvement. It's pretty much all an AI system that will create that post for you. And then you will be able to rank in multiple places on the Google search results. So when people are looking at like pairing Cardo with my TFT and Googling that, not only is this video going to show up, you could also have an article. And what that does is two things really. It's more like representation of your brand on that search result page. So when people are looking and scanning down it, they're seeing Cardo, Cardo, Cardo everywhere because you've done this topic in all these different formats, but Google kind of considers them separate. And then it also helps just get different types of people. Like for instance, I don't really like watching these videos. I'd rather just scan through a well-written article that has directions, like what we put up on our website for like pairing Cardos and Sennas. I just want to scan through and quickly get the walkthrough. I don't want to listen to the explanation and all this stuff. I just want to see the points. And that's what you can do with this, what like YouTube to article workflow. You can create those pieces, and then people who want to read, they can go read. People who want to watch it, they can watch it. And you can interlink them as well, which we do a ton. When we have a video and an article, that video goes on the article, and the article is in the description of the video as kind of a follow-up. So that works super, super well. And again, it's extremely easy with AI to implement this kind of workflow. So I'm going to say we're not seeing it at all. Not seeing this big opportunity for them. Cool. And summary and next move. So I had written down a couple things as I was looking through before I went live. Bottom of funnel. So missing or thin across like these X versus Y buy intent clusters, comparing their own products, not seeing much content around that. Publishing buyer's guides, that's really helpful, and creating hubs out of them, really, really useful. Technical content, like they could be doing this with YouTube, I think, really well, especially taking YouTube videos to articles. What else? Yeah, I think there's a little bit missing opportunity in technical stuff, like explaining new innovations that they have around mesh, why Cardo has the best mesh, that kind of thing. Creating tons of content around that and then interlinking it everywhere to show Google and especially AI engines that when you think mesh, you think Cardo, really establishing authority there. But I think actually the lowest hanging fruit, now that I'm done doing the whole live stream and looking through this, it is bottom of funnel content. So I'm going to say low hanging fruit. Bottom of funnel content. Yeah, we already said some stuff up there about it, like versus content, single product reviews, rounding up reviews that influencers have done of products. Like here's all the reviews of Cardo Custom, and putting all the videos in there and some snippets about it. Just to put it all in one place and build some authority around that. Bottom of funnel content, rewrites everything. It's all too short, bland, and no CTAs. So again, this is something I see on basically every brand blog. That's such low hanging fruit. It's just rewrite what you have. They're already getting great traffic with the content that they have. I had this same situation with my website early on where I had really bland content. I just didn't know that it wasn't good. Like I didn't realize that this isn't very good until I went and read through it again, like 6 months after it went live. And I realized this is terrible. Like if I was searching, if it wasn't my content and I searched and found this, I would have immediately bounced off and gone somewhere else. And that's how I felt reading all these blog posts. It's like I would just bounce somewhere else. But the cool thing was when I recognized that about my site and I went back and I wrote more entertaining content, I wrote much better intros, I put in videos, interactive media, more information, and better CTAs. Suddenly I saw that my content went from earning about 10 cents a visitor on a good day to over $2 per visitor in terms of gear sales. And so there's just massive opportunity, especially because you're already ranking. If you rewrite that content, it's going to day one be making more money, be delivering more results for the brand. So that's super, super important, doing really good rewrites. And then I will say internal linking. Just create hubs out of what you already have. Let's say topic hubs. Topic hubs out of what you already have, and do some internal linking between them. Cool. So let me see if I have any other notes that I wanted to talk through, but I think that, yeah, is about it. I think this blog has massive opportunity, like I said, especially because it already has traffic, already has good topic coverage. Just need to rewrite the topics and make that content a lot better. If we can do that, I think this will, very quickly 10x the results that it's driving for the business. Cool. That's all I got for today. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.